Previously on. But today, for this part one, or the first half of the video, I'm going to be talking about all of the books that were graciously sent to me either by an author, publisher, or publicist. I think I've got 29 books to talk about today. And then for part two, the next video that'll come out, I'm going to talk about all the books I've recently gone out and bought myself, either online or from a local bookstore or anything like that. What's up, everybody? My name is Brad and welcome back to the channel, or if you're new here, welcome to the channel for the very first time. Either way, I appreciate you stopping by and hanging out while I talk about some books for a bit. And today we're continuing on with part two of my massive book haul, over 50 plus books. Part one went up like a week or so ago. I'll link it up in the cards so you can check that out in case you missed it. And today for part two, I'm going to be talking about all of the books that I have recently-ish, within the last couple of months or so, went out and bought either at indie bookstores or from like Half Price Books or from my library sale, that kind of thing. And I have 25-ish or so books. Take a little, leave a little. But let's go ahead and dive into it. And the first book is actually the first book I also talked about in part one. That was a hardcover edition, and this is the paperback edition. And that is Here in the Dark, Stories by Megan Lucas. This is from Shotgun Honey Books. Megan had an event recently up at Carmichael's in Louisville, and I attended. It was cool to finally get to meet Megan in person, and she was just as awesome in person as she has been through online virtual chatting and being friends and whatnot. But like I said in the other video, this is my favorite short story collection I've read all year. I don't see that changing. It's an awesome collection. You should definitely go check it out. It is Southern grit lit type of stories. They're very impactful, very hard hitting. I definitely think you should check it out. I really love Megan's writing, so I had to get another copy of Here in the Dark, Stories by Megan Lucas. Up next, also at that same event, it was Megan, Frank Bill, and then author J. Todd Scott, who I had not read anything by, and I didn't know he's actually a Kentuckian. He was born in Kentucky, so he's a Kentucky author, so I had to pick up one of his books. And I think this was his most, or this is his most recent one, but he has a new one coming out this month in September. I don't know if it's out yet or not, but I think this is the one prior to that. This is called The Flock. It's labeled as a thriller, and from what I read of the synopsis, this is about a cult, which is really cool. It's got a blurb on here from Almakatsu, so maybe blurring the lines between horror and like crime and things like that. I think mostly he is a crime writer. In real life, he is a DEA agent. I think he's got like a trilogy that's set in Texas, probably about a sheriff or so. He's got one standalone that takes place in Kentucky, if I'm not mistaken. And then this one is also a standalone. Like I said, this one's about a cult. He was cool. He did sign it for me. And I think he's written some episodes for one of the sequels to the Yellowstone TV show, which I've never watched. I don't watch too much TV, but I might need to check it out since he has been writing for, I think it's whatever the new show or season is that's coming out fairly soon. I don't really know anything about it. But I picked up this one. This is The Flock by J. Todd Scott. Again, this is a cult book, which I need to read some more cult stuff. I haven't read any good cult books in a while. Up next, this one is one that I think I got for free because I had bought some other books. This is from Butcher Cabin Books up in Louisville. This is The Polar Treasure by Doc Savage. Honestly, I know nothing about it. My son was in there with me, and they said, you can pick a book off this table, and he picked this one probably because it has a polar bear on there. He's a big fan of animals, and like I said, I know nothing about this one at all. To the world at large, Doc Savage is a strange, mysterious, so I'm assuming Doc Savage is not the author. I guess that's the name of the character. Oh, here we go. If I actually read, it says The Fantastic Adventures of Doc Savage by Kenneth Robeson. This is book number 4, it looks like, in the series. Doc Savage is a strange, mysterious figure of glistening broken skin and golden eyes. That's a weird description. Okay. To his amazing co-adventures, the five greatest brains ever assembled in one group, he is a man of superhuman strength and protean genius. So I guess he goes on some type of adventure in the Arctic, searching for some sort of polar treasure. I might read it one day. It's very short. It's just about 100 pages. Kind of probably a pulpy, garbagey, trashy adventure. So this is The Polar Treasure, a Doc Savage book by Kenneth Robeson. Up next, I was excited to get this one because I don't find very many of this author's books in the wild. This is Usher's Passing by Robert McCammon. I only have a few Robert McCammon books, physical books, so I was glad to add another one to my collection. And I've heard mixed things about this one. I think this is his take on the fall of the House of Usher from Poe, his interpretation of that. I think it takes place maybe on Halloween. I might be wrong because I know one of the covers has like a jack-o'-lantern face on there. But I've heard mixed things about it. I think this is one of his earlier works. Maybe not, because there's a bunch of other ones listed in here already. So this might be further on. Yeah, well, there's already like 10 books in here listed as being written by McCammon. So not his first book, not one of his earlier ones. But I'm excited for this one. I really like that story, The Fall of the House of Usher. I liked another interpretation of that, which was written by T. Kingfisher, which was called What Moves the Dead. So I'm curious to take on McCammon's vision of that. This is Robert R. McCammon's Usher's Passing. Up next, speaking of Frank Bill, when he had his event in Louisville, I picked up his short story collection, Southern Crimes in Indiana. I don't think I've talked about this on the channel. If I have, I'm talking about it again. But this was his debut, I believe. It's a short story collection, and I've heard that it is just awesome. I really enjoyed his novel, his newest one, Back to the Dirt. We've talked a little bit in person, and when he was on Paper Cuts, we talked offline that they are trying to adapt this to film, but everyone who comes across it just says it's too dark. They can't do it because it's too dark, which just makes me want to read it even more. But yeah, it's all the grit lit kind of stuff, like Megan Lucas's is. So I'm really looking forward to reading this one. I really liked his writing style. This one he also signed for me when I met him in person. This is Crimes in Southern Indiana by Frank Bill. If you've never read Frank Bill, he's very much the same as kind of like Donald Ray Pollock, David Joy, those authors. So if you like them, definitely check out Frank's work as well. Up next, I believe I got this one at my local library's bookstore. Yeah, it looks like it was $2 at the bookstore. This is one I don't know about, but I feel like I've seen this cover a lot over the years, and I just wanted to pick it up because the title sounds cool as well. In a Dark, Dark Wood by Ruth Ware. I don't think I've read anything by Ruth Ware before. I don't know if there's paper in here in the back too. What is this? Top 20 Amazon customer picks for 2015. Well, there you go. There's you want to check out that list that someone left in the back of the book. Looks like these are all books. Girl on the Train, Memory Man, yeah, the Girl in the Spider's Webs. Those are all books. We'll look at that later. So Ruth Ware, I don't know if this is her debut novel. I don't know if this is horror or if this is like a thriller book. Check it out. Let's see what's going on here. Sometimes the only thing you fear is yourself. What should be a cozy and fun-filled weekend deep in the English countryside takes a sinister turn in Ruth Ware's suspenseful, compulsive, and darkly twisted debut psychological thriller. That's cool. I like psychological thrillers, and I really like the cover on here too, even though there's not much to it, just a bunch of tree branches. It looks cool. I'll dig the title. So we'll check this one out, hopefully someday in the future. If you've read this one, let me know if you had any thoughts about it down in the comments, because I really don't know anything about it. In a Dark, Dark Wood by Ruth Ware. All right, up next. So this is actually the very first book I ever reviewed on the channel, the very first video I ever put out. At the time, I think I checked out the book from the library, and now I picked up a copy. And this was also from, my library's bookstore. It's a book club edition. This is Sing, Unburied Sing by Jesmyn Ward. I really remember liking this book a lot. It's more of this kind of Southern Gothic, Southern grit lit kind of stuff. I don't remember a ton about it. Again, that's been about 4 years ago since I read it. But what I remember, there were, I think it's a brother and daughter, brother and sister, not a brother and daughter, brother and sister, and they just have a really crappy home life. Jojo, yeah, Jojo's 13 years old. She's trying to understand what he's trying to understand what it means to be a man. But this is a great book. I really need to read more of her stuff. She has, what are some of her other books called? Salvage the Bones is one I was thinking of. That one sounds great. I think she's got a new one that just came out or is coming out soon. Yeah, I'll link it up in the cards. It's probably terribly cringy video. Like I said, it was the first one I ever did. But I really remember liking this book, and I really need to read more of Jesmond's work. This is Sing, Unburied Sing by Jesmond Ward. This is one I've seen like Barnes and Noble and stuff a lot, or at the library a lot, and the cover that I always saw had like a hot air balloon, like steampunky blimp kind of thing on the cover, and it always intrigued me. It always looked really cool, and this cover is not as cool, but I'm excited to read the book. This is Washington Black, and I'm going to butcher the author's name, by Esai Edugwen. I'm not very good at pronouncing people's names. I apologize. But it looks like this was a finalist for the Man Booker Prize. And George Washington Black, or Wash, an 11-year-old field slave on a Barbados sugar plantation, is terrified to be chosen by his master's brother as a manservant. To his surprise, the eccentric Christopher Wilde turns out to be a naturalist, explorer, inventor, and abolitionist. Soon Wash is initiated into a world where a flying machine can carry a man across the sky, or even a boy born in chains may embrace a life of dignity and meaning. And we'll quit reading there. So like maybe some alternate history kind of stuff going on. Slave getting wrapped up in some more fantastical things. Not necessarily fantasy, but flying machines, exploration, adventure, that kind of thing. This one sounds like a lot of fun. Like I said, the other cover, if I can remember, I'll pop it up over here. But the other cover had me intrigued with the flying machine on the cover. So this one sounds like a lot of fun. This is Washington Black by Esai Edugwen. I'm sorry if I'm butchering your name, which I already know that I am. All right, next up, I got this one recently for my birthday, I believe. Yeah, I think it was my birthday. And this one won the Pulitzer Prize and was also an Oprah's book club pick for last year. This is Demon Copperhead by Barbara Kingsolver. And that's an awesome title, Demon Copperhead. And I think this one has been pitched as like sort of a retelling of, or an inspiration, or inspired by Charles Dickens's David Copperfield, which sounds really cool. Demon Copperhead is a story of a boy born to a teenage single mother in a single wide trailer with no assets beyond his dead father's good looks and copper-colored hair, a caustic wit, and a fierce talent for survival. In a plot that never pauses for breath, relying in his own unsparing voice, Demon braves the modern perils of foster care, child labor, derelict schools, athletic success, addiction, disastrous loves, and crushing losses. So this one, I believe, is set in Appalachia. I really like Appalachian stories and that as a setting, so I'm really excited for this one. And like I said, it must be good. It won a Pulitzer Prize. It was an Oprah's Book Club pick, and it's a pretty thick one. It's over 500 pages, about 550 pages or so. So it should be, what's the cover look like? Just pale on the inside, just blank. But yeah, I'm excited for this one. And like I said, I had put this one on my birthday wish list and got it. So I'm excited for this one. This is a Demon Copperhead by Barbara Kingsolver. Next up, I talked about this one in the vlog video I did, which now I am not able to think of the title of. But when I went down to see Laurel Hightower and Todd Kiesling at that book event, I picked up recently Every Woman Knows This by Laurel Hightower. I picked this one up for Indie Bookstore Day back in May, I think it was, at Butcher Kevin Books. And I recently had Laurel sign it for me at that event down in Berea, Kentucky. This is her newest short story collection. I have not read this one yet. I've read everything else Laurel has written, and I really thoroughly enjoy her work. So I'm really looking forward to this one. This is all kind of feminist horror, strong women characters, and the struggles that women have to go through daily. This is put out by Death Knell Press, which is Red Lego, and she does awesome artwork for the stories. It looks like, I don't know if every story does, but a lot of the stories have accompanying artwork in here, which is really cool. I really dig Red's art style. So yeah, I'm really looking forward to this one. And Laurel also has a new novel coming out next month in October called Silent Key, which I'm excited to get to. This is her newest collection. I think it's her only collection. Every Woman Knows This by Laurel Hightower. These next two books I also picked up from Butcher Kevin Books at an author event. This is her first one, or this is her first one before this one. They're both by Jessica Leonard. This is Antioch, and both of these are from Perpetual Motion Machine, Ghoulish Books. It's Max Booth III. They're one and the same. But this one is about or inspired by Amelia Earhart and her disappearance, which I thought sounded really cool. And like the radio signals and stuff like that. Antioch used to be a quiet small town where nothing bad ever happened. Now 6 women have been savagely murdered. The media dubs the killer Vlad the Impaler due to the gruesome crime scene of his victims. Clues are drying up fast, and the hunt for the monster responsible is hitting a dead end. We'll leave it there, but there it goes. Spending her nights alone reading about Amelia Earhart conspiracy theories. So it does involve Amelia Earhart, like I said. So serial killer book, I'm all about that. And then throwing in like some historical stuff like Amelia Earhart sounds very, very cool and interesting. And Jessica, she was kind enough to sign this for me when I got to meet her. And then this is her newest book from Ghoulish Books. And this is Conjuring the Witch, which she also signed for me, which is cool. These are the words of the Reverend. These are the words the Reverend of the Lillian Assembly of Our Lord repeats to his parishioners each week. Stephen Nicole Warby think it is just a metaphor until Nicole takes a walk in those woods and comes back changed. There are witches in the woods. So cool witch story. This one, just from the synopsis, reminds me a bit of Devil's Creek by Todd Kiesling. I don't know if it's actually set in Kentucky or not, but something going on in the woods and dealing with religion and stuff like that has me thinking of those same vibes. But this one is Conjuring the Witch by Jessica Leonard. This is one I bought directly from the publisher. I pre-ordered it because it came with a map, and I'm a sucker for maps, so I had to get this one. This is, and I don't know how well this will show up on camera, and I can't see the camera to adjust it, so you might not be able to see it at all. Sometimes it's pitch black. Sometimes you can see the title really good. But this is Everything the Darkness Eats by Eric LaRocca. This is from Clash Books, and the interior is done by Todd Kiesling. It's very reminiscent of the new edition of Devil's Creek. So it's kind of, turn around here. So it's kind of dark and grungy and all that kind of stuff in here. It looks really cool. I don't have the map. The map's way over there. I'm not going to get up and get it. But the map was cool. It came with like a bookmark and I think a postcard and things like that. But this one, what is this one about? An insidious darkness threatens to devastate a rural New England village when occult forces are conjoined and when bigotry is left unrestrained. I will leave it at that. I've heard this one. This one has sort of different characters and their timelines kind of intersect. I've heard it's a bit strange, a bit dark, which is like his stuff normally is. So I'm excited for this one. This is his longest work. It's his first novel. I'm excited to check this one out. I feel like his shorter works do really well. I don't know how it'll translate to a longer work, but we'll check it out. This is Everything the Darkness Eats by Eric LaRocca from Clash Books. And then a second ago, speaking of Todd Kiesling, at that event down in Berea, I picked up 3 of his books. I picked up Scanlines, which is from also Perpetual Motion Machine. I won't talk about these too much because I did talk about them in the vlog video. What was it called? Now it's going to bother me. A Summer of Dread tour. That's what it called. That's what it was called. So I talked about them more there. So if you want, check out that video and you can get more depth about what these books are. But he signed all these for me. This one is about like a videotape. They watch it and someone commits suicide on the tape, and that might like kind of curse them to commit suicide themselves. I don't really know for sure. That's Scanlines. And then this is Todd's new collection that's coming out from Cemetery Dance Publications. This is Cold, Black, and Infinite. I think it comes out September 28th, maybe, if I'm not mistaken. I'm over there looking at my calendar. I'm not just staring off at the wall. I've got a calendar over there. I think it's the 28th. This is new collection. I think there's about 15, 16-ish stories or so in here. So looking forward to that. And then I was talking about Devil's Creek a second ago, and I picked up the new edition of Devil's Creek. It's got the Bram Stoker Award sticker on there. A new introduction by Ronald Malfi, and the interior's been redone. You can see it on there. I don't know if I'm off screen, where it gets darker and the corruption grows the further along you get into the book, which is really cool. I love this book. I'll put my review up here. It's fantastic, cosmic horror, weird cult, religious type book. Really dig it. You should definitely check it out. So I had to pick up the new one of that. All right, so on to the final stack here. I've added a few new books to my Stephen King collection recently. I picked up a pretty good copy. I don't even think it had been cracked open before, because when I opened it, the spine was still kind of cracking a little bit. It looks brand new. This is The Girl Who Loved Tom Gordon by Stephen King. This is about a younger girl, 9 years old. She gets lost in the woods. I know it has a lot to do with baseball. Tom Gordon was a baseball player for the Red Sox, if I'm not mistaken. Wearing her Red Sox batting practice jersey. So a girl lost in the woods, probably trying to find her way out, and somehow it deals with baseball as well. I guess Tom Gordon was her favorite baseball player, so added that one to the King collection. And then also, this is one I have read, and this is a nice hardcover edition. I don't think this one was limited. I think it's just hardcover. But this is Gwendy's Button Box by Stephen King and co-written with Richard Chismar. I remember thinking this one was good. I didn't love it. I didn't hate it. It was sort of middle of the road. I think I wanted more out of the story. It's kind of scratching the surface with what I wanted. I wanted more depth to it. But what the story was, I do remember enjoying. Looks like there's some cool artwork in the hardcover edition, which is nice. So added this one, and I have not read the other two in the trilogy. I know book 2, whatever it's called, Chismar wrote it by himself, and then King came back and they co-wrote the final book in the trilogy. I can't remember what the other two are called. One's Gwenny's Magic Feather, and I have no idea what the other one is. But I believe this is the first one, Gwenny's Button Box, and like I said, I remember thinking it was good. It didn't blow me away, but I didn't dislike it either. So pick that one up, hardcover. This one I already had a hardcover of, and I don't know where it's gone. And I love this book and came across it, I think, at Half Price Books. So I had to get another edition, another copy of it, and it's in really nice condition. This is The Last House on Needless Street by Catriona Ward. I talked about this book a ton on the channel. If you are familiar with the channel at all, you're probably getting tired of me talking about this. It's probably one of my favorite books I've ever read. I'll leave my review up here. You can check it out. I won't say too much more about it. But I think the best way, if you don't know what this book is about and you've never read it, go in completely blind. Don't read any reviews. Don't read the synopsis. Just read the book and just find out what's going on all on your own. It is definitely the most mind-bending, surprising book I've probably ever read. And I loved it for that, for being able to shock me the way that it did. That's The Last House on Needless Street by Catriona Ward. That is from Tor Nightfire. Up next, this is Curse of the Reaper by Brian McCauley. This one reminded me of Scream, and actually says Scream meets The Shining, this page-turning horror tale about an aging actor haunted by the slasher movie villain he brought to life. And that sounds awesome. I don't want to read anything more. It does look like the movie. It was an 80s horror movie called Night of the Reaper. So has the 80s horror movie vibes, which 80s horror movies are probably the best, at least in my opinion. So that, maybe some meta stuff like Scream. This one sounds just like it'll be a whole lot of fun. This is Curse of the Reaper by Brian McCauley. Up next, this is All the White Spaces by Allie Wilkes. And this one, I believe, takes place in Antarctica, 1920. An isolated expedition struggles to survive on the unforgiving ice. The harsh elements are not the only threat. Amidst the howling winds and harrowing darkness, something mysterious and deadly awaits. Looks like it's about a soldier who was who fought in the First World War, which is also really cool. I hope the whole book takes place during that time frame in the 20s. I hope it doesn't go to like present day and back and forth, because I like horror books and that are historical when they stay, in that historical time period. For me, that's much more enjoyable than going back and forth to modern day, to the past and modern day. Just stick in the past, and for me, I enjoy that quite a bit. This reminds me of The Terror by Dan Simmons, which was also a great book. Being stuck in the Antarctic on an expedition. So this one sounds cool. It looks like it's got the Aurora Borealis up here, and I'm not even going to try to say what Rowan Hill pronounced it as, the Revonlet, or whatever she said on the most recent episode of Paper Cuts when talking about her book, Foxfire, which is another name for the Aurora. But yeah, this one looks cool. This is All the White Spaces by Allie Wilkes. Up next, I picked up the newest one from S.A. Cosby. This is All the Sinners Bleed. And this one, again, I don't know what it's about. I very briefly glanced at the Stephen King. Stephen King actually wrote a review for it. And I glanced at it, and just what I saw from that, which was like one or two sentences, made me want to pick it up. I wanted to pick it up anyway because I really enjoyed his other book, Razorblade Tears. So this is his newest crime novel, but I think this one maybe just barely dips into horror just a tad bit. I'm a black sheriff, a serial killer, the horror coming in, a small town ready to combust. I feel like from Stephen King's review that the serial killer wore a wolf head or a wolf mask, if my memory is not failing me, which is what made me want to pick this up sooner rather than later. This one sounds cool. Like I said, I really enjoy Cosby's writing style. Being about serial killers, I'm already invested because I love serial killer stories. This is All the Sinners Bleed by S.A. Cosby. All right, we're getting near the end. Looks like 4 books left. This is another book I got for my birthday. This is Our Share of Night by Mariana Enriquez. And this is a thick boy. This is like 600 something pages. Right at about 600 pages. And this one, I just heard great things about this one. It looks like it's translated to English by Megan McDowell. Give her credit as well. What is this one about? A woman's mysterious death puts her husband and son on a collision course with her demonic family in the first novel to be translated in English by the Booker Prize shortlisted author of The Dangers of Smoking in Bed. The most exciting discovery I made in fiction for some time. It looks like a father and son set out on a road trip, devastated by the death of the wife and mother they both loved. So some grief, horror going on here. Some demonic kind of stuff going on from what it sounds like. Looks like it takes place in London in the 1960s and going to Argentina. Sounds like a big kind of family epic, which I can really sink my teeth into for sure. This one sounds great. This is Our Share of Night by Mariana Enriquez. This is another Kentucky author. I believe he lives in Louisville, and I think he's written some other stuff under his real name that was like historical fiction, and this is his first foray into horror under his pen name. This is J.H. Markert. This is The Nightmare Man, which sounds cool. It looks cool. This looks like a great book to read in the fall with the scarecrow on there and the cornfield. Sounds really cool. And he's got another one coming out in November called Mr. Lullaby, which I think it was supposed to come out in January, and they bumped up the release, which probably means it's also pretty good. Let's see. Blackwood Mansion looms, surrounded by nightmare pines, atop the hill over the small town of New Haven. Ben Bookman, best-selling novelist. I love books about authors. Best-selling novelist and heir to the Blackwood estate, spent a weekend in his ancestral home to finish writing the latest horror novel, The Scarecrow. Now, on the eve of the book's release, the terrible story within begins to unfold in real life. So that sounds cool. Like, the fictional story that he wrote is starting to come true. That sounds pretty cool, like a cool premise. Sounds very Stephen King-ish. Not saying he copies Stephen King, but that's definitely giving me heavy Stephen King vibes. This is The Nightmare Man by J.H. Marquardt, and I just realized that the cover looks ripped, and then there's like the manuscript underneath. I just realized that. That is really cool as well. Cool cover. All right, and then these last two books. So recently, and I say recently, I think it was back in like the end of July now, but a new used bookstore opened up close by in Georgetown, Kentucky. It's called Fabled Forest, I believe is the name of the store. The owner and my wife are good friends. Actually, my wife is really great friends with the owner's niece. They're like best friends growing up. She's good friends with the aunt as well. But the bookstore opened up. They did like a soft open on a Friday. We went up to Georgetown, and just to support them, I had to pick up some books. But it's a used bookstore, and they have like they sell like incense and the different like stones it's supposed to do. Kind of, I don't really know anything about it, like the natural kind of stuff, all that kind of cool stuff. So I had to pick up some books there and support it. There's the kids' stickers I got in here. They picked up a bunch of bird stickers while we were there. So they got those while we were there at the bookstore. I got this one called Sign Here by Claudia Lux. It looks like this is a book of the month. I've seen this cover around, and this one sounds actually like a lot of fun. A darkly humorous, surprisingly poignant, and utterly gripping debut novel about a guy who works in hell, literally. Not just his job sucks, but he literally works in hell. It is on the cusp of a big promotion if only he can get one more member of the wealthy Harrison family to sell their soul. So that sounds very like a unique premise. Sounds pretty cool. Sign Here, I guess he's signing his soul away. So that's really cool. This is Sign Here by Claudia Lux. Picked up the book club edition. And then the final book for this haul that I picked up from Fabled Forest is Black Sun by Rebecca Rowanhorse. I think this is part of a series. I might be mistaken. And I've never read Rebecca Rowanhorse before, but I've had her book Trail of Lightning on my TBR forever. Maybe I have read her. She wrote a Star Wars book, Resistance Reborn. I can't remember if I've read that one or not. I don't know if that's the Han Solo one or not. Anyway, but I believe she is a Native American author, which is really cool. And looks like this one maybe has some Native American influence in it. I'm inspired by the civilizations of the pre-Columbian Americas, woven into a tale of celestial prophecies, forbidden magic, and crafted with unforgettable characters. Rebecca Rowanhorse has created an epic fantasy adventure in the most original series debut of the decade. So it is a series. Cool fantasy novel as well, fantasy series. It's not too awful long for a fantasy series. Oh yeah, there's book 2, Fevered Star, Beneath Earth and Sky, book 2. So I guess that's the name of the series, Beneath Earth and Sky. It's about 500 pages, which isn't too terrible for a fantasy book, but if it has like a lot of Native American like folklore and myth involved, I might be wrong. It might not be that at all, but I'm hoping it is. This sounds like it's going to be a lot of fun and really cool. So this is book 1 in a series, Black Sun by Rebecca Rowanhorse. And that's it. That is the final part 2 of my epic big 50 plus books book haul. If you've read any of these books, let me know what you thought about them down in the comments below. If you loved them, if you hated them, if I should read them now, if I should throw them in the trash and never read them ever. But joking aside, I'm not going to throw the books away. I don't think I'd be able to do that. But Anyway, if you enjoyed the video, please consider hitting the like button, subscribe. It'll be greatly appreciated. It helps the channel grow, spread the love about all these books. That's all I have for you guys today, so thank you for spending your time with me. Again, my name is Brad, and I'll talk to y'all later. Bye.